tide is changing. They all are saying, hey, we see what's going on, we see what's wrong. We want Supervisor Henyard, because they saw what a dictator looks like at that moment.
All right, we're gonna be diving headfirst into this Tiffany Henyard lawsuit. And it's interesting enough that it's not just one mayor that's suing Napoleon Harris, there's two. So this is no ordinary legal drama. We're talking about accusations of locked doors, rigged rules, and what some are calling a coronation instead of a fair election process. But why is this lawsuit even happening in the first place? Well, it all boils down to a chaotic caucus in the Thornton Township.
We were promised a raucous caucus, and indeed, that is what we witnessed. Thornton Township Supervisor Tiffany Henyard, who was appointed to that position tonight, lost her bid for the Democratic Party's nomination in this rarely used political process. It now appears if she wants to run for supervisor again, it will have to be as a write-in candidate. That is the sound of an auditorium full of Tiffany Henyard opponents rejecting her nomination for Thornton Township Supervisor. State Senator Napoleon Harris is the Democratic committeeman for Thornton Township. He alone decides whether to hold a primary election or a caucus. Amid the turmoil tied to embattled Supervisor Henyard, Harris chose a caucus and won the nomination.
Democratic nominee for supervisor is Napoleon Harris.
So in this lawsuit, Henyard is alleging that the Democratic caucus, ran by state senator and committeeman Napoleon Harris III, was anything but democratic. So according to Henyard and her group, they're showing up to an election only to find rules are rewritten in the last minute, their supporters are locked out, and the outcome is decided before the game even started. So this is the chaos that we're unpacking with this lawsuit.
The lawsuit is very clear. We would have an opportunity to iron it out in the courts, and it'll be interesting to see what happened with those rules. Those rules are very bothersome.
Are you calling for another caucus to be held?
Absolutely. That's what we're asking the courts to do. And again, it's up to the judge, it's up to the judges or the courts for the kind of relief that the judge may deem appropriate in this matter. We know that an injustice has been done.
So let's start by breaking down what's in this legal filing, because the details aren't just messy, they're explosive. And stick around for the whole video and tell me your thoughts in the comment section about this lawsuit. So Tiffany Henyard isn't just upset, she's claiming that the entire Democratic caucus was ran like a rigged casino stacked against her from the very start. And this lawsuit has what she calls receipts. But first off, I want to talk about something that I find extremely interesting. That if you look on this document, it's not just Tiffany Henyard's name on there. You see someone else's name, another mayor named Fitzgerald Roberts. Now, maybe you guys may not know who this person is. To be honest, I did not know until I saw this filing. Mr. Roberts is the Dixmoor mayor. Dixmoor, a small village very close to Dalton, and is also a part of the Thornton Township. While Dalton and Dixmoor are very close, unlike Tiffany Henyard, Roberts doesn't seem to have a laundry list of controversies or allegations tied to his name, at least not anything on a surface level glance. I guess I'm gonna have to do some more research in a later video. But what I wonder is, what's the deal? Why would Roberts decide to jump in this legal mess? On paper, it doesn't seem like he has much to gain. Is there more underlying tension between Roberts and Napoleon Harris? Or did Henyard somehow convince him to team up against the alleged gatekeeping at the caucus? Right now, it's hard to tell. What's even more puzzling is Roberts isn't the one in the headlines. Henyard is. Yet, by aligning himself with her lawsuit, now he's a part of the story. Whatever the reason, Roberts' involvement adds a layer of intrigue to this already chaotic situation. Now, let's talk about the rules, or what Henyard's legal team will call them, the hurdles. One of the most controversial rules require participants to have supported the Democratic Party of Thornton Township in the last 6 months. That meant attending at least 5 party events or meetings. So unless you had a perfect attendance record or a membership badge, you were not allowed to nominate, vote, or even be nominated. It's like they turned the public caucus into an exclusive club, according to Henyard. And if your name was not on the list, that's too bad. Henyard's lawsuit points out that this rule violates Illinois law, which says anyone who's a registered Democrat in the township should be allowed to participate. But there's another rule there, requiring candidates to submit their intention to run by email before the caucus even started. But not just any email, apparently the address had to be sent to thornton.@gmail.com, the official email of Harris's political committee. They believe it's a conflict of interest. Henyard also claims that even if she had to manage to jump through all these hoops, she wouldn't have stood a chance. Why? Because she believes that Harris's rules specifically barred candidates who were already running for other offices. and that targets it's Tiffany Henyard because she's also on the ballot for re-election as the mayor of Dalton. She believes that these rules were written with her name in bold letters, underlined and circled with red ink. She believes that Napoleon Harris is targeting her.
Gender discrimination happened. Bullying happened. Political bullying happened. Also, man, it's so many things to recite. So many things happened that evening, and we recited it in our lawsuits.
Her team is saying by the time the caucus ended, in just 10 minutes after it started, Harris and his slate of candidates were already declared winners, unopposed. Henyard and her supporters, they believe they were left out in the cold, both literally and figuratively. So here's what she wants. Henyard is not just asking for a do-over. She's asking for the court to declare the caucus invalid and prevent Harris from benefiting altogether. She's also demanding a new caucus with court oversight to make sure this kind of chaos doesn't happen again. But let me know in the comments below, do you believe that she has a case? Now, I was not there in the caucus. I was in Brooklyn, New York. I have no idea what happened in this meeting, only from a very few videos I've seen on different content creators posting up whether Henyard was there early or was she there late? Was it 500 people there? Maybe it was that many. I have no earthly idea. It's actually kind of hilarious that we're all arguing about this, but clearly the courts are going to decide. But let me know what you guys think about that. But now let's dive into the evidence that the Henyard team has brought forward, because the evidence they have is about what actually happened in that room and why this lawsuit could have massive implications for the Thornton Township.
The night of the caucus stands by itself on its own merit. You all saw it, you witnessed it, you reported on it. They turned around and left hundreds out in the cold. We're just asking for justice to be served. This should not be tolerated anywhere.
So Henyard's team has receipts, as they say, literally and metaphorically, to show that how far Napoleon Harris allegedly went to keep her out of the game. So first, let's talk about these infamous badges. According to Henyard's filing, the people who were allowed inside the caucus all had special badges that read Thornton Township Democratic Caucus Delegate. These badges weren't just handed out the door. They were allegedly pre-distributed to Harris's chosen few. If you didn't have one, apparently, good luck getting past the front door. Henyard claims when she and her supporters arrived, the doors were locked. People were told they couldn't get in because the event was either full or private. Meanwhile, inside, Harris's supporters were reportedly mingling at what has been described as a holiday party.
For quite some time that people didn't know I was gonna come with drones of buses. Drones of cars showed up to vote for Supervisor Henyard. When we all showed up, they had to stay in their cars. They had to get out of line. Some people stayed in line because they wanted to wait just to vote. They then start opening the doors about 6:45. That's about 15 minutes before the actual event starts. How are they gonna process over 500 people in 15 minutes?
When the doors finally opened, they didn't even clear the room to ensure everyone entering was qualified. Instead, the people already stayed inside, effectively blocking out Henyard's camp. Now, the problem is with all that I did see videos of Henyard inside. Does that mean only she was there? I know her, and I saw Kamal in there. She was able to get in. What happened to everyone else? And again, if you are the mayor or supervisor, I'm assuming you're able to get in anytime you want. Was other people left outside? Henyard's legal team is painting this picture of people that were not allowed to go inside, freezing outside, where everyone inside sipping on hot cocoa and hanging out, what looked like a private event. That's exactly the kind of scene this lawsuit paints. And Henyard claims this wasn't just poor planning, it was intentional voter suppression.
The voter suppression I will not stand for. I want to vote. I vote every single election cycle. I have not missed one. I believe in that wholeheartedly, and I think the people of Thornton Township does as well.
Now let's talk about the rules Harris allegedly used to stack the deck. According to a lawsuit, these weren't just unfair, they were outright illegal, as Henyard likes to call it. Illinois law requires that caucus rules be approved by a majority of participants during the event. But Harris's rules, they were allegedly set in stone a week before the caucus even happened. And surprise, the participants never had a chance to vote on them. One of those rules required candidates to be members in good standing, which in case meant they had to attend at least 5 Democratic Party events in the last 6 months. In Henyard's perspective, unless you were a loyal Harris supporter, you were out. Another rule required candidates to submit a notice of intent by email to that email address, thornton@gmail.com. The email tied directly to Harris's political committee, and that deadline was a full day before the caucus. So if you found out about the rule late or didn't have access to the email address, you were automatically disqualified. I still believe it's important to really make sure you have all your ducks in a row when you're dealing with this, especially when you have so many issues and so many enemies as Tiffany Henyard. You would think someone should have had all this information done so she wouldn't be caught up like this. But whatever, I digress. Henyard's lawsuit points out the entire caucus lasts only 10 minutes. Henyard's lawsuit also alleges that Harris isn't just bending the rules, he may not be even able to qualify to run in the first place. According to the complaint, Harris does not live in Thornton Township. I think Michael Dot Smith mentioned this and set out his entire address to dox him, which I think is extremely ridiculous, but I don't know, I guess that's how they get down in Illinois. So, like I said, according to the complaint, Harris doesn't live in Thornton Township, which would make him ineligible to participate, let alone preside over the caucus. If this is true, this could invalidate the entire process. So here where we stand with Tiffany Henyard's lawsuit. Locked doors, shady rules in the caucus that ended before it began. Henyard's team is arguing that this wasn't a poorly run event. This is a deliberate effort to silence her and her supporters.
I'd just like to say that this has been an ongoing theme with the injustice and the illegal, what we would term illegal acts against our super mayor, as she loves to call herself. But in reality, she is a black woman who is constantly being attacked by others. Now, be it because she's a woman or be it because she's African American, that we don't know. But what we know for sure is that it's unfair, it's unjust, and that we hope the courts will see it our way.
If Henyard wins this lawsuit, the results of the December 3rd caucus could be thrown out entirely. That means Harris and his slate of candidates wouldn't be able to move forward in the April general election. And for Henyard, it's not just about getting a second chance, it's about proving that the process was rigged from the start. And I really can't believe it, but she was able to beat the recall for the mayor of Dalton when she was voted to be recalled, and she was able to beat that in court. Is it possible? Is it possible that she'll be able to beat this as supervisor to get herself back on the ballot? Now, even being back on the ballot does not necessarily mean she's going to win the entire election, but this could rally her supporters and strengthen her position heading into re-election. This lawsuit has some serious implications for the people of Thornton Township. Thornton Township handles millions of dollars in taxpayer money, providing critical services like senior programs, youth initiatives, and public assistance. The people running this township have a direct impact on residents' lives. So this situation is extremely important. So as the court is going to deliberate and that campaigns continue, the stakes couldn't be higher. We're going to see what exactly going on. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this lawsuit. Thank you for taking time to watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.